my response is I want to throttle them. Clearly I can't, but that's what I feel like inside. I really feel that. Because I just think it's so unjust and unfair, and to me it's totally gutless. I just want to quickly talk about something that's sort of a little bit off the topic, but it's not as well. It's sort of about roundabout attitude, but also about resilience and strength of character. Recently, and I've got to declare my interest. I'm on the board of the Roosters, and I know this kid quite well. Latrell Mitchell. Latrell Mitchell put up something in his stories which called out somebody who was being racist against him, but probably even worse than that, it was racist with a troll. So, they were wishing harm upon him and being racist at the same time. It was pretty bad, right? Like really uncool and really bad, particularly today. I can't believe people actually go down that track. Their ignorance, and I would have thought it would have been somewhat educated out of them by now. And I actually really admire Latrell. He's a young man. He comes from a complex environment in that, you've got to sort of identify who you are. And where I admire him, he's actually identified who he is. He's happy to prosecute it. He's happy to call out the bad behaviour out. And at the same time, he's managed to go and play a blinder of rugby league the following weekend. And it appears, and I'm sure it's not necessarily the case, but it appears as though he's been able to cast aside the venom with which this particular individual hooked into him on social media. That takes me to the business environment. One of the things you've got to be prepared for if you start to build a brand is the haters. And there's a lot of haters out there, and they just don't necessarily hate because of race. They hate because of perception of who you are, or they hate you because you're more successful than them. They just hate you because they like to be a hater. They pick people who they want to hate. Social media is a beautiful breeding ground for them. They can hide behind their names that they pick. They can hide behind pictures that they borrow. They can hide behind their keyboard when they're typing it in. They're not being censored. The mediums which carry their commentary, that is, Facebook or Instagram, etc., they don't vet these people necessarily, and they're definitely not responsible for any defamation that might be caused, as opposed to these particular individuals who never get up in a newspaper or on a television show to be able to say these things or a radio program, because you would sue the program that carries or broadcasts the insulting commentary. So if you're going into social mediums today and you are promoting something in terms of your brand or the business offering, be prepared for this stuff. I get it all the time. And sometimes it really fucking makes me angry, it really pisses me off, and I feel like my response is I want to throttle them. Clearly I can't, but that's what I feel like inside. I really feel that. Because I just think it's so unjust and unfair, and to me it's totally gutless. That they can say things that A, aren't true, but B, is really just a response to me trying to try hard and run my business. Now, if you don't like me, my response is don't follow me. Fuck off. Don't follow me. I don't care. I own the broadcast. Instagram's my broadcast. Facebook's my channel. YouTube's my channel. I don't have to contend with anybody else. So if you don't like what I'm doing, go somewhere else. Go follow someone else. Go knock yourself out. Do your best. But go somewhere else. But it doesn't keep them away. So, resilience. Latrell Mitchell, young man, incredibly resilient and courageous. If you're going to go into this game, be prepared for it. You have to build your resilience. Now, resilience, funnily enough, gets built the more times you get hit, the tougher you become, or the more resilient you become. So to some extent, accepting these trolls and reading this stuff and just letting it wash over the top of you is part of your resilience building. You can't build resilience unless you get hit. If I have my hand here and my hand's never worked a day in its life, and all of a sudden I start working with my hands, I start wielding an axe or a shovel or something like that, I'm going to get blisters. But over time, if I continue to do it, my hand becomes resilient. It grows tissue on there that becomes resilient. Well, the same for your brain. If I keep getting hit by people who are trolling me, or if you go into this environment, you keep getting hit, you become resilient. So don't be worried about having to deal with it, because it's part of building your resilience. Now, sure, we grow with resilience, and some of us have natural resilience, but you get really resilience the more times you put up with this stuff. So at the end of the day, the solution is resilience, and in order to get resilience, you've got to accept these things. So part of the game is putting yourself out there, and part of the game is getting hit, and part of the outcome is you become more resilient. So it's not really that bad at the end of the day, as long as you're willing to accept it. And when I say accepting, I don't mean you got to condone it. I just mean you don't have to hit back. Sure, call them out, but don't feel angry, which is your initial instinct, or certainly is mine. But I'm saying accept it. Accept it within yourself. And just the reason you accept it is because it is going to give you a proper outcome. That's part of building the scar tissue on your hand. That's part of building your resilience. It's different to condoning it. And Latrell, hats off to you, mate. Young man, you've worked that stuff out really early in the game, and it's going to guide you well for your future.